think I'm still struggling with same-sex attraction.
Now, I was introduced to pornography in elementary school. If I'm not mistaken, it was like 3rd grade. If my story can help even one person come to Christ, they can say all the bad stuff they want.
Seems like the world already got your power figured out, but I'm still trying to understand why I'm still at your mercy now. Born into December, when I cry, you probably heard the way. You breathe into my nose and show my soul and blow the dirt away. God, I'm trying to understand, cause I've been trying to live for you.
I'm gonna tell you this before we came up here. You look pretty today.
Oh, thank you. Trying to cut out the pink. It's been a little strong. And when I got dressed yesterday to go to the brunch, I was like, I think pink is my favorite color.
Uh-oh.
Okay, all right.
Not blue done got replaced.
It's honestly, it has. And
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know after 30 years, pink is like.
That's crazy.
But
after I know pink, now it's like
Jesus,
pink.
do not send me a daughter. Then I get trendy. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
I guess pink is all right.
It looks good on her. And then I think that clear pink fingernail polish. I started getting that. I was like, oh, well, hello. And then other like lighter, but it's still only like soft, light shades of pink. It's not hot pink. I can't. No, I still
I've never
can't.
liked hot pink.
I can't.
But I've always kind of thought, at least, like especially on girls, I've always thought like pink looks good.
Yeah.
Like I've never liked like hot pink. It's I don't know. It's just
so
something
strong.
Gross about it. But like the soft pink and it's like it's it's pretty. But yeah, you came in with the shirt and your skirt and then the hair slicked back and I was like, okay, now look at you.
Miss Jackson used to do that. She'd be like, I did a thing.
Oh my goodness, y'all crazy.
I'm gonna FaceTime her and be like, girl, and see if she does it.
Oh.
So I got a question.
Okay.
We did this at the brunch, and so I kind of like the idea. It was these little cards, and each person had 2. So I'm gonna ask you the questions that I had.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what my answers are. Okay. My first question was, what is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Chocolate covered ants.
Yeah, for real ants?
Yeah.
Like living ants?
Not living.
Like ants,
they weren't
though?
alive, but yeah, they were ants. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember where they came from, but it was like a pack of them. And they were chocolate covered ants. And yeah, wow. I tried them. They were interesting.
Crunchy.
Yeah.
Yuck.
At least on the inside, because the outside was chocolate. Yeah. This was like a long time ago.
I just can't imagine. Let's not talk about it. I'm just kidding. And then, mine is, I don't venture too deep. Mine is calamari.
I always say I'll try anything at least once.
I see that. I think mine was calamari. That's like,
I love calamari.
I know, me too. I'm just saying, like, that's deep.
It's the weirdest thing you've eaten.
It's like weird.
It's not even weird.
It's not. It's not even.
We used to get calamari, like when we would go to Olive Garden, we would get it every single time.
I remember we got it. We went somewhere and we got calamari. I feel like it was Olive Garden, maybe.
Might have been.
But
the only thing is they stopped. So they used to have a sauce that they would serve with the calamari. They don't do that. They don't do that sauce anymore. When I tell you the calamari with that specific sauce,
it's bussin'.
Man,
can't mess up.
That was like the reason to go to Olive Garden.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's calm down.
I mean, the food's good too, but like
that is part of the food.
We couldn't. It was like going to Olive Garden and not getting the calamari with that sauce was like going to
$3 cafe and not getting the blue cheese chips.
No.
Really?
I was gonna say it's like going to Red Lobster and not getting the cheddar biscuits.
It comes already.
Right, but it was that serious.
Okay. My second question was, if you had a store, what would you sell?
If I had a store, what would I sell?
If you owned a store, what would you sell?
That's a good question. I've never even considered owning a store, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know, maybe like
Spider-Man. Music.
I guess music. maybe. I don't know.
Just think about it. I'll tell you what my answer is.
Okay, what's yours?
Candles. Oh, I just love candles. It would either be flowers or like it would be candles or flowers or both. Like something that just like makes the room smell good.
You know what? Graphic t-shirts.
I would buy them.
I would like, honestly, because I actually have thought about doing this. I would make my own t-shirts and it would be stuff that I want to wear.
Yeah.
And I would sell that.
Oh, I like that idea.
I've actually thought about doing that. Like as this grows, possibly like when we decide maybe it's time to start doing merch, making t-shirts.
I love how it was when and not if we decide.
Gotta speak it.
I said I loved. That's what I said. But that was it.
That was only 2 questions?
Yeah, each person got 2 questions and like you read them out and then you said what your answer was. Some of the questions were if you could meet anybody in the Bible other than Adam and Eve, because everybody's like, I want to ask her what the problem.
You gotta say other than Jesus too, because everybody.
Oh yeah, actually Jesus. It was actually other than Jesus instead of Adam and Eve. Other than Jesus, who would it be? Mine. I want to talk to Peter. What did you have going on, sir? Calm down.
You already know who mine is.
Yes, he'll be okay. I'll accept that answer too.
Yeah.
Tell the people.
Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they know already too if they've been watching the podcast. It's Paul. I want to talk to Paul.
Yeah. What was another one? What's your most favorite chore? Well, we don't have to go through all of them, but I'm just remembering, like I said, each person.
I don't like chores, so none.
Right. That was actually some people's like none of them. No.
Nah. What's your favorite chore? Nah. No thanks. Oh, that's good. All right. Well, grace and peace to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. It is Sunday afternoon, and it is time for another Millennial Christian Conversation.
You look excited.
I am Wayne Jr., and this is my co-host, Nandi. And today, things are going to get deep.
What?
I think that's why I wanted something lighthearted to open us up, because I feel like this conversation is going to get...
Not lighthearted.
Yeah.
Should I get a tissue box?
I don't know.
Well, you're closer.
I think we'll be all right.
You think you'll be all right. Speak for you.
Okay.
Do you know who you're dealing with?
Yeah.
Can you get the tissue?
You want to get... Okay. 1 second. There's 2 over there.
Oh, that's true. How about we just keep it on the table when we move it over?
Maybe
just in case.
What we should do.
All right, let's go.
All right.
He's back.
I've returned. So, we've talked about quite a few things on this podcast.
Yes. That seems so vague.
Well, so here's, because I want to kind of flesh out my thought process here. Okay. What I really want for this podcast is something real. And what I mean by that is we talk about like our interpretations of scripture and like things that we believe and like things that we feel are important. Like our very first episode was
in the house.
It was in the house. Okay, so our second episode.
I was gonna say the one where you're
right. Yeah. We don't got to talk about that, please.
I was just trying to remember.
Yes. I think our second episode we were talking about like basically like the core tenets of Christianity, like what's important as far as like Christianity. Like, do we need to go to church? Should we stop sinning? Do we need to get baptized? Like all that kind of stuff. And we have moments where we're kind of giving our
opinion.
Yeah, giving our opinion, like in a way, like trying to teach.
Yeah.
But I really do want this podcast to lean more towards just realness and being open about who we are and like just the Christian experience as a whole. It's important for people to know theology.
Right.
It's important for people to know scripture and all that. But it's also important for people to see,
it just feels so far away.
like the real side of Christianity. Like it's not all, oh, God is good and I trust him. And he is.
And we do.
Yes. And we do trust him. Yes. But it don't look like that all the time.
Life is still life.
Life still life. And we still struggle. We still go through things, and people aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to see that and understand that, so that when they come across certain things, it doesn't immediately turn them away from the faith.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people, when they're kind of coming into Christianity, they think, oh, well, I'm going to become a Christian and things are just going to go perfectly.
Yeah.
Or this person's a Christian, so they should be perfect. Kind of. And then, you know, somebody who's a Christian might do something to hurt somebody, and then immediately they're like, oh, well, I don't know about this Christianity thing.
Yeah.
And we need to understand, like, people are still people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even when you decide to follow Christ,
yeah,
things don't just immediately become perfect. There's a sanctification process. Sometimes you have to struggle with things and go through things, and things need to be like, you need to be cleansed, and cleansing is a process. Yeah. It doesn't just happen overnight all the time. Sometimes it does. You know, for some people it's just, you know, boom. They be like, God, I give this to you, and it's gone. Yeah. And cool. That don't happen for everybody. Yeah. And so,
and I would say, even for those people, there may be other things in their life that didn't get, you know, sanctified immediately, but some struggles are.
And I could even say that about myself. Like, I feel like there are some things that maybe not immediately, but like I can look back now and be like, oh yeah, this is not nearly as bad of an issue as it was back then, you know? Yeah. So I want to use this episode to be vulnerable. And that's why I say it's going to get deep, because
we both got to get vulnerable.
Please. Because I don't want people, and then the other thing is, I don't want people to look at us and think like, oh, well, they just think that they're
above reproach.
No, because there are things that I still struggle with that honestly even get to the point where I question my own faith. And so my thought is, even with how I feel sometimes, there has to be someone out there that feels the same way.
Yeah. With as many people as there are on the earth.
Right.
Somebody is going through something similar, if not the same. I know we're all living different lives, but I mean, some stories are kind of repetitive. And then I'm not saying like you shouldn't still tell your story, because there could be someone at home right now, or at church right now, out at the park, whatever, who's going through exactly what we're going to be talking about, who's thinking that to themselves, I'm the only person that's going through this. Nobody else is struggling with this. I'm an outcast, even amongst my friends or amongst my family, amongst my churchgoers. So I think that's why it's important for us to tell our stories, is because we are testifying and giving our testimonies about how God, you know, is working through us and in us and things like that. But it also, like, it speaks to people and their lived experiences.
And it also shines the light on us as jars of clay, you know, and to show like, hey, again, we're just people, you know, we're not perfect. Yeah. We are weak vessels. Yeah. And in the scripture, it talks about we're weak on purpose, because in our weakness, God's strength, God's power is revealed. So I'm gonna ask you.
I knew it was gonna be me. Go ahead.
And you know I'm gonna answer it too, but what is something that even now, we are both a year into our walks with Christ, what is something that even now you are still struggling with, whether it's a sin that you're still battling, or like whatever?
One thing keeps coming to mind. I really didn't want to talk about it, but I don't know what's going on, but for the last 3 or 4 nights, I've been having dreams. Actually, no, before that, because the first one happened and I was in a different setting. I was still sleeping. I was but I think I'm still struggling with same-sex attraction. And I think subconsciously in my sleep it's coming up. I had a dream about like being engaging in some stuff, and I was like, what? I ain't even thinking about that like that. So I just kind of moved on. I think I told you about it, but like I moved on.
I don't think you did.
I didn't tell you about. I told you about the other one though.
The one
when we ain't got to talk about that. But that was still kind of in that same vicinity. And so I was like, okay. And then last night I had another dream about someone else, and I was like, this is really. It's honestly perplexing because I haven't been trying to, like, I'm not on the slide, well, let me just make a little account over here or, anything like that. But for some reason it's like resurfacing, and I think it's because instead of dealing with it and bringing it to light, I just kind of was like, all right, that was over. I'm made new.
Right.
I'm just going to forget about all that right there. Even though it was actually it's a lived experience of mine. So, I was praying about it last night, and I've deleted a lot of the social media accounts on my phone. I haven't deleted like my account. I've deleted the app, but there's still 2 of them on there. And I after praying, I thought about the fact that like I got an encounter with the person that I had a dream about before I went to sleep because I was on social media. And I was just like, maybe I need to just take a little step back to get this. Not just say I'm going to be just, wholly renewed overnight. But I want to give myself the space to really bring it to Christ like I need to without it being a recurring situation. Like without still being reminded of it. So...
Right. Without like being triggered.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I didn't know the word that I was looking for. But yeah, that right there.
Wow. That's good. And you said something that reminded me of another thing that I was going to say is that talking about this stuff is also good for us.
Yeah.
Because it, like you were saying, it helps us to actually address these things. And I feel like for us, it also helps us to kind of be kept accountable. Yeah. Especially if people know, not to say that everybody just needs to be in our business, but, like the scripture says, confess your sins, one to another, and
you may be healed.
Right. And pray for each other that you may be healed. And I think that, confession does, in a sense, it brings it to light, and that in itself can kind of be a weight off of your shoulders. Yeah. Because it's like, this isn't a secret that I'm trying to hide anymore. Like and that can be heavy, trying to hold that and keep that to yourself. And then on the other side, especially with those closest to you, when they know what you're struggling with, they can help, help you get through it and help hold you accountable. And that brings me to my answer, because that's why I came to you, and I also went to Dad about the app that I was trying to use, because I've still, to this day, I still struggle with lust. And it most commonly manifests as pornography. But I know myself well enough now to know that it's not just a porn problem, it's a lust problem. And so, I had the app, the Trustably, that's why I came to you, and I sent the thing to Dad too, because in trying to battle this, I know I need other people close to me that I can trust to help hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And even like I was telling you, like I don't want it to be something that I can just turn off, because I know I will. Because it's the struggle is that real. And honestly, I'm even at the point where I think I need to find something else, because I don't think Trustably is working well enough. But it's a struggle. And there are times where, you know, I can go a couple days and be good and then fall. I can go a week and, you know, be fine and then fall. And it's tough because, like I said earlier, it sometimes causes me to question my own faith.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, God, you know, I trust you. I believe in you. You know, I have faith. Why am I still dealing with this?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with me, basically, you know? And even like, you know, recently, as I've still been struggling with it, it's made me realize, like, this isn't simply just something that I struggle with. This is an addiction.
Oh my.
And I already knew that, but I'm not sure if I knew, like,
or it hadn't clicked.
Yeah, like, we can toss the word addiction around, you know, be like, oh, you know, I'm addicted to my phone, or I'm addicted to video games, or whatever. But when we really think about the truth of what an addiction is, like, that's
strong.
It's strong and it's serious.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at. Is this isn't something that I can just be like
nonchalant.
Yeah, like I can't just be nonchalant, you know. I can't just be like, all right, you know, I'm not gonna do that anymore. It's something that's had a hold on me for a while, and by a while I mean countless years. And so even like when I was saying, like, there are other things that, like, my anger has improved.
Wow.
A lot. Like, I don't struggle with anger as much. I still have moments, but like, it's not
what it used to be.
Nowhere near what it used to be.
I remember I was there.
Even like with I guess I could call it pride, with like having to deal with like correction, or like people coming to me about like, hey, I don't like the way you did this. Like things like that. It's like I don't struggle with that as much, being more gentle, like all these things that I feel like, okay, this is, you know, God has done this for me, you know, in me. And then there's lust. And it's just like, okay, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? Like, you know, and so it's a battle. And when I tell you, I've been like fighting it, you know, I've been looking into different things, like, okay, how do you get over this? Like, what are scriptures for this? Like, and like all these things. That's why I told you about the Hardly Initiated podcast, when they had the guy on there that was saying like he was a preacher and, you know, he was addicted to porn and all that. When I, like, as soon as I saw, I don't remember if I think I just saw it in my YouTube feed, and like the preview of it was him talking about how he would go minister and then come home and watch porn. And I think the title of it was like, he addresses pornography or whatever like that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to watch this.
Yeah. This
is for me, because anything that's going to help me fight this, that's what I need right now. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, and we're going to come back to me. But one thing that I've learned in, you know, looking into stuff to try to fight it, is that one of the first steps is recognizing why it's an issue in the first, like, why do you turn to porn in the first place? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that just applies to porn. I think that applies to
sin.
Just, sin, or like anything that kind of, that you struggle with, you know. So I guess for you, I might need to rephrase the question based on what you said, but like, do you feel like you've always had same-sex attraction? Do you feel like there's something that triggered the same-sex attraction? Do you think that maybe like there was some trauma or something? Like, what do you think kind of led to this struggle?
Wow. I haven't really dug into that, actually. It might be a mixture of a lot of what you just said. I feel like I've had attraction. I've always, boys. But I think once I started going through puberty, I started to see girls as like, oh, she's pretty. Like, oh, okay. I could see why guys like her.
Right.
And then in high school, I found myself like it was a little bit more like, oh, I kissed a girl, and then like, oh, we held hands, and like it just kind of kept progressing. But for some reason, in the back of my mind, in my consciousness, I still knew it was wrong, like on a spiritual level. And so I was like, I can't see myself in a relationship with somebody, but to kind of dabble in it wasn't so bad. It ain't that bad, in my mind, of course. Right. So I feel like maybe I felt like women were safer than men. Because they ain't but so much, most of them ain't but so much bigger than me. And yeah, even the physique that I was attracted to, I ain't want a woman that was just like bigger than me. Like, you finna be fighting me, you ain't gonna beat me up.
Right. I even think about like the type of men that you're attracted. You're not attracted to like big men.
Yeah, that scares me. It's like, no. But yeah, so I remember the one relationship with a woman I got into, like, I would sneak to her house late at night. It wasn't like it was a broad daylight kind of situation. Like, we were texting in secret, talking on the phone in secret. Like, if I spent the night at her home, I would be like, bye, or I would park my car in the back of the house. So like, even like mentally, I was like, I don't want nobody to know, but I still kind of want to see what this is like.
Right.
And then I think we dated for like a few months, and I still told her, I was like, we can't just be together though. And she was ready to be like, I love you. And I was like, ugh, I don't know about all that.
It's like, well, just hold up.
And then she was like, well, if we got married, I was like, I know full well, I'm going to tell you right now, we will not get married. And I think at that point I knew, I just really knew I couldn't do that. But that didn't take the attraction away. And so I don't know. I don't know if I've just inherently always did, or also felt like women were safer, going through different things, it might be a culmination of all that.
Right.
Well, I really don't know what to do with it. I'm not acting on it. I promise y'all I'm not. So don't be like, oh, she don't think I'm fine. Okay, like, calm down. Like, no. But I really don't know what to do, except, like I said, I had to pray about it, because I was like, Lord, I'm over here having dreams, and I'm like, and they were coming out of nowhere suddenly. I was just having dreams, and I was like, what? It was confusing me. Right. So it's not like I've been just like, oh, let me scroll down this person's page, and like, oh, it was just suddenly I went to sleep and I woke up and I was like, I don't even know where that came from. But it's been recurring for, I want to say, like the last 2 weeks. I've had 3 different dreams, and it's brought that back to my attention, or like brought it back up. And so I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I started talking.
Sounds like the attraction's kind of always been there, in a sense. Do you feel like there are any experiences, maybe specifically with men, that kind of pushed you more to women?
Yeah. Well, dated a guy who was really abusive, and I didn't know it was abuse until, like, people were like, "Are you okay?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, that's what." So abuse, and then sexual traumas. That same person. And so I've kind of like been, I want to say, I guess, angry of being like used, manipulated, like I said, abused. And so with women, I don't feel like I said, with the women, the physique and everything that I was attracted to, it was hard to see it being abusive or forcible or anything like that. Not to say that little women ain't still strong, but it didn't feel like I could be sensitive and not be frowned upon. I could be, going through that time of the month and you understand what I'm going through. I could just go through the same stuff and it be understood versus I have to explain everything and you still don't get it kind of thing. Or just you using your physique against me. Like, wow.
Okay. Do you think, because I heard you say like you could be sensitive and they could understand you, because I mean, basically y'all kind of go through a lot of the same stuff, woman to woman, is y'all both have cycles, that are the same kind of time, like your hormonal cycle is the same time period, and you have the same kind of hormones. So it's like they kind of understand better, like, oh, well, this is what you're going through, and I get it because I go through that same thing too. But do you feel like maybe some of that has something to do with the way you were raised?
Explain. Like, what are you?
So, and I know this because I know you, but I guess specifically what I mean is your relationship with your father.
Oh, I said, because you said how I was raised. I'm like, okay, I have 2 parents in 2 different households.
Yeah.
So which of those are
But I know, your dad is very rough and, didn't really allow for a lot of emotional expression, and kind of had a bit of a tyrannical view surrounding mistakes and failure. And I know, again, because of the relationship we've had, that's affected you, even just in regular life, let alone romantic stuff, so I was gonna say, have you considered, but I think you've already kind of answered that question. But do you think that maybe that's had something to do with it also?
I can see that. Like, being a little girl with the physique of Trinity, I just want you to put that in mind. And then my dad having the physique he has, and him saying,
military guy, just so y'all know, is, you know, he ain't small, short but not small.
I'm gonna teach you how to defend yourself, but you're scared that you're gonna get hurt because his hands were big enough to cover my entire face. And I'll be so like scared to be vulnerable. And the times that I was, it didn't feel like it landed on fertile ground. It felt like it was landing on concrete. And even more recently, the conversation we had, it was painful to have opened myself up again to try to be I feel like I've had to be very masculine. I didn't wear skirts and dresses. I didn't like pink. I didn't like hair bows. I didn't like any of that stuff. And so I feel like I was scared of being with a man because, well, what are you going to do to me? Are you going to be picking and poking at every little insecurity, every little, you know? And so as a woman, of course you got soft tissue. Of course you know what it means to cry. You know, to just go through that kind of stuff. So I can see that. Yeah. And that's honestly a large part of why I don't like bigger, you know, like muscular, like guys that be like that. I be like, oh, and it sounds funny, but I'm legitimately scared. Like, you could crush me. You could put your hands over my nose and mouth at the same time and I could suffocate. And I'm speaking from experience. So you didn't tell me I was going to therapy today.
I'm sorry.
I still don't know if I answered your question, but I can see that being a contributing factor that I hadn't really thought about until just now.
And you'd be surprised, actually. Well, I don't know if you would, but a lot of women actually feel that same way. I don't know if it's necessarily rooted in the same thing, but a lot of women find like big, like super muscular men unattractive. And I've learned that recently, but a lot of men who get big like that, they're not doing it for women. They're doing it for themselves, really. And a lot of women don't find that attractive. Like, I'd say, like, you know, a lot of women like a guy who's in shape and fit, but like once you get to like bodybuilder level status, it's like, all right, bro, you're doing too much.
Your neck is like a lot.
Yeah.
How do you put on a shirt?
And I think a lot of guys do that, you know, for kind of themselves and just, you know, to feel good about themselves. And even like, not to say that, I was gonna say, I think a lot of men even just do that like for other men, and not to say like they're trying to attract men like in the romantic or sexual sense, but just like, you know, kind of like a, bro, I see you, like, you know, getting them, you know, kind of thing. Like, but yeah, I hear that, and I've seen the way your relationship with your dad has affected you in different ways.
Speak on it.
And we just did, but one thing I can say is I'm glad you're going to therapy, because I think it'll help you kind of address these things and deal with them, you know, in a healthy way, and figure out, you know, like you said, what to do about it. Because, you know, you even saying like it's now come back to you that this attraction is still there, but now you don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And so I guess kind of what I'm hearing, and you can steer me in the right direction if needed, is kind of, you know, I feel like for every person, their foundation of who they are starts with their parents.
I agree.
And I think because of your father, you kind of grew not only this fear of men, but this kind of, in a sense, masculine personality. And it seems like your fear of men was reinforced then by your relationships. And so those two things together kind of seem like they kind of push you towards women even more so. Because I feel like, I don't know about everybody, but I feel like a lot of people kind of have that, especially women, where they can look at another woman and be like, oh, she's pretty. And I can see why guys would like her. And I would even go as far as to say there's a lot of men, they wouldn't want to admit it, but there's a lot of men who can look at another man and think the same thing. Like, oh, that's a handsome dude. Or I can see why he pulls so many girls. Like, you know, you can look at a guy and like think that, or like recognize that without, you know, anything being weird about it.
Excuse me.
But then for you, it went further than that. Mm-hmm. And it seems like part of that is, you know, there was that kind of initial, like what most people, oh, you know, okay, she's pretty, whatever. And then it kind of, like the further attraction seems like it was seated in that she's probably safer than this boy that I find attractive because she can understand why I'm crying, or she might understand why I feel upset, or, you know, she understands the mood changes I'm going through because it's that, you know, time of the month, or like whatever the case, or, you know, she, like her nature isn't as aggressive as a man's would be, so I don't have to worry as much about her abusing me. And I think that with the even kind of like the way you were raised was already, like you said, you had to be, I guess, a little more masculine because of how your father was. You weren't allowed to wear skirts and like all that kind of stuff. And I feel like even that, a lot of times we end up attracted to people who are similar to us, yeah, in certain ways. And mm-hmm. I feel like even thinking about the girl you were talking about, she was in a relationship for a couple months, she was a little more on the masculine side, I feel like. And
I was gonna say I didn't think about the idea that I was attracted to people that were similar to me in that regard, because mm-hmm. I didn't have a say on how I was dressed. And one of the things that he was always like, oh, I get to still shop in the, you know, petite or, you know, kid section, because I was just a small child. Mm-hmm. But I never wore like shorts. I didn't wear form-fitting clothes. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know how to dress femininely, if that's a word, if you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like I always had on big boy pants and big slouchy t-shirts. Mm-hmm. And so like the fact that I wear dresses and skirts, that took a long time. Mm-hmm. Even in college, when I was going to school in Augusta, my friend Zuli, I don't know if you remember Zuli, but mm-hmm. She was an awesome friend. I wasn't trying to pay for laundry all the time, and the way she would know that I was running out of clothes is I would start wearing dresses, because that's all I had left. And she'd be like, you need to do laundry? And I'd be like, yeah. She was like, yeah, because you don't wear a dress 3 days in a row. And I'm like, But I would wear pants, sweatpants, you know, jogging pants. I also wear leggings and stuff like that. But all throughout elementary, middle, and high school, baggy. And I get picked on. And so that was also stuff. For a long time, I was saying, I'm my father's oldest son, because I didn't feel like a girl. I didn't feel like I could be a girl. I I didn't even know how to be a woman. Or like, and I think I was telling you, like, I'm trying to find my femininity. He was like, oh, I don't think you have a problem. I was like, I'm seeing a problem. And it was more so in, I don't want to feel like I look like a man. I don't want to feel like a man. I don't want to, you know, be ripped and like, I don't want to be masculine anymore. I want to be soft. I want to be, I don't know, a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, she did dress like that. She did. And like the people that I was having dreams about were like that still aesthetic. You know, stud. Just to be like frank about it. Yeah.
I think in a way it's affirming. Of I don't want to say you, because I think you're feminine.
No, thank you.
But I can like understand, you know, because of all that, why you would feel like, oh, I don't know how to, like, why you would feel like you don't know how to kind of like express that feminine side of you, because for a long time it felt like you couldn't. So, I think dating women who, kind of presented themselves a little more masculine was in a way affirming to you and the way that you felt at the time.
Yeah. It was like, I can have a man, but not a man. Like, you look, you know,
right,
but you're not. So it's like, it was like, I ain't gonna say the best of both worlds, but
that's literally what I was thinking.
Like, it was literally like,
I was just thinking.
It's kind of like the best of both worlds. But like I said, in the back of my mind, it just felt wrong. Like, I told her, I don't think this gonna work out at all. I'm gonna be for real. This is kind of like, I'm trying to see this out kind of thing. Because at that point, I had still never really truly like been with a woman or anything like that. And broke her heart. But I even to this day, I still stand on that.
And you know what? That's interesting. So and I'm going to get to why it's interesting.
I was going to say, I don't like how you laughing.
But I'm not, because I'm starting to see some similarities.
Okay.
And so it's not like, haha, it's so funny, but it's like, it's just, I'm smiling because it's interesting, you know, just kind of digging into this. But it's kind of like I said before, your father kind of made you afraid of women. Afraid of women.
I wasn't afraid.
It made you afraid of men. And then that was reinforced by the relationships that you had in your adolescence. And so you already kind of had this kind of attraction towards women. And so even though what it kind of seems like is you really wanted a man, but women felt safe. So you went for a woman who kind of resembled a man in order to, best of both worlds, but like have the feeling like you have a man, but the safeness of having a woman.
That was, I mean, yeah. You did that.
It's interesting.
Now, go ahead.
So.
Because I've been talking a lot.
You have. And I wanted you to talk a lot because I felt like I was going to talk a lot. And so. Because honestly, I've been thinking about this. I really have. Like I said, I've been kind of looking into how to fight this, and I've heard multiple people actually say that, you know, you have to kind of identify what it is that's leading you to it. And I've been thinking about it, and the reason why I feel like it's interesting is because I feel like also part of my issue is affirmation. It's affirming. And so I think for me, I had a similar struggle as far as manhood.
Okay.
Especially as I started to get older and became a Christian and all that. It was, I felt like I didn't know how to be a man. And the interesting thing is, and I told you I've been spending a lot of quiet time, especially at work, with the Lord. And this is kind of where I've been fleshing this stuff out. But the interesting thing that I was thinking about is, like, a lot of men struggle with how to be a man because they didn't have fathers. I'm not one of those people.
I know.
I grew up with both parents. And
I grew up with both parents.
Yes. I'm sorry. You're also not a man. But
I'm just messing with you.
I grew up with both my parents in the same household, married. My father taught me, actually, and like thinking back on it, like the whole, like what you would say about like you were surprised and like even your dad was impressed with me like opening the door for you and all that kind of, I learned that from my father. So like as I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, well, my dad actually did teach me how to be a man. But I think what happens is the home can only do so much. Our parents can only do so much. And I think that for me, I went into the world with a lot of love in my heart.
Aww.
I'm going to be honest. I keep telling you, Wayne reminds me a lot of me. He reminds me a lot of me when I was his age. He's very optimistic. He's very, even though he's like quiet and to himself, he's very happy and so loving. And I spent a lot of time around women. Because, I mean, mom, sister, female cousins, like it was more women than men around me growing up. And so I had an appreciation for women. I felt like I had a more of an understanding of women than most boys my age because I spent a lot of time around them, and they didn't hold nothing back. They didn't hold nothing back. They talked about whatever they wanted to talk about, and I was just there. So I think, coming into adolescence and, middle school, high school, all that, I think kind of what I learned about being a man, which was honestly, a lot of it was kind of like looking out for people, protecting people, especially the women in your life. I feel like a lot of it was kind of choked out of me because as I started to enter those crucial, according to psychology, that crucial phase in life, as much as I felt like I loved people and I loved women, I felt like I was getting rejected by them. So 5th grade, I was bullied badly. And, I go to middle school and, there are girls that are literally running away from me. And I'm like, I never said hi to these people. I never tried to talk to them. I never, nothing. But every time I came near, I'm hearing ill and they're like jumping over their seats to get away from me. I asked a girl out on the bus. How I got the courage to do that, I don't know. But, like wrote her a note, gave it to her. She goes to the back of the bus, and now all the girls in the back of the bus are laughing at me because I asked her out. I'm becoming the joke of, oh, she like you, and, and then the girl that she's talking about is like, no, shut up, Tops, and it's like, and I was praying actually at work one time. And I was like, Yoshi and Devin were right there, like next to me. Like Devin's sitting next to me and Yoshi's across. Like we're at lunch and Yoshi's at across from me. Why me? Like, why am I the target? And I thought about you asked me not too long ago if I felt like the whole bullying thing still affected me, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. It doesn't. Like, I don't really think about it or whatever. But honestly, I think it does, because as I was kind of thinking about this stuff, and like bringing it to God, the thing that I guess the thing that I struggle to understand is, like, why? Like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, I'm getting punched in the back and choked and called names and framed for throwing stuff at the teacher, and somebody's forcing me, like the kid steals candy from the teacher's box and he forces me to put it in my book bag and so I can give it to him when we get on the bus. And these girls are running away from me. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I literally just existed.
Right.
And all of that, like, the love and the respect that I had was kind of being overshadowed by the rejection that I was getting. It felt like people don't like me, especially women. And so I think at some point that turned, I can't skip stuff. So that's what, elementary school, well, really middle school, because the bullying was 5th grade, but then all that with the rejection and the girls running away, that was through middle school. And then, and that's interesting because actually when I told you about this not too long ago, I didn't even connect those dots. But my freshman year, or the summer before my freshman year of high school, I'm in an acting camp. And there's a girl in the camp that actually had gone to my school. But we weren't like friends or like close or anything like that. But you know, we kind of became friends there. And one day, randomly, she just started grabbing my butt. I wasn't even attracted to this girl. Like, I didn't see her that way. I didn't have a crush on her. I didn't like her. She wasn't attractive to me. So like, that wasn't even on my mind. She started grabbing my butt. And I think at first I was telling her to stop. And then there was a part of me that liked the attention. And so I think I kind of allowed it to continue.
Yeah.
Even to the point where, you know, I ended up, like, we were texting and like it became, I feel like something that wasn't consensual something that wasn't consensual then kind of became consensual. Mm-hmm. Simply because I like the attention. And then fast forward freshman year, high school, like that ends somehow at some point. Freshman year, I finally end up getting a girlfriend. And in this relationship, there was a demand for sex. And I told this girl over and over and over and over and over again that I did not want to have sex until I was married. And at first, it was cool, all right. And then, like, the longer we were together, the more that didn't seem to be an option. The more it was like, oh, well, why can't we? And it was just, it was an issue for whatever reason.
Right.
But I don't think I wasn't emotionally or spiritually mature enough to be able to see that as what it was. And so I stayed with her, and eventually we had sex. And it was like, once we did, like, kind of all bets were off. And part of me, honestly, I often think back to that relationship, and I'll say to myself, like, I wish I never did that. Like, I wish I never had sex with her, because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like something about that has, like, changed me in a sense. And so for me, I think it's a combination of rejection, and then the attention that I did get was it wasn't good attention. Like, even like the summer camp thing, it started off really sexual. And then with, the relationship, while I wouldn't say it started off sexual, it became very much about that. And it was almost like unless we're going to have sex, this, like, what are we doing in this relationship? And I think that kind of changed my thoughts about sex. I think that changed kind of how I viewed myself. And I think that's the weird thing is, I don't think I ever took that and was like, I hate women. I feel like I took it and internalized it and took it as I hate myself, because I felt like, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm unattractive, or I'm, lame, or a nerd, or like whatever. And so that's why women don't like me. That's why they run away from me. That's why I keep getting rejected. And I think that's why I started to turn to pornography, because now I was introduced to pornography in elementary school, which,
stressing me out every time I hear you say that. I'm not, because honestly, and I'm gonna let you talk. Mm-hmm. I think both of our lives make me afraid for Whayne specifically. Trinity, I don't know what it is, but she just has this I am who I am and whatever.
Yeah, she really does.
Whatever.
She really does.
Whayne, I can see he just loves to love people.
Yeah.
He's very kind. Like, even to the point where I'm like, you can be, no, tell these folks no. And he'd be like, nah, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, I don't want that choking out of that outpouring of love and kindness and gentleness. Yeah. Those fruits that he already has. I don't want that for him, because I'm afraid to see, honestly, what your parents saw in you, that change. Yeah. Because, guys, he will give you the shirt off his back if you could fit it.
He really would.
If he could, he would.
And that's why I worry about him.
Me too.
Honestly, I worry about him more than I worry about Trinity.
Me too. I worry about him being bullied.
Honestly, the only reason I worry about Trinity is because she got attitude.
She does.
And I'm worried about her getting in trouble. Yeah. But I'm actually worried about Wayne and his like mental and spiritual well-being, because and honestly, he's at that age where, like, statistically speaking, boys are getting introduced to that stuff.
And he's already been introduced to cursing.
Yes.
And
he's already been introduced to the idea of gay.
Right.
Like being gay.
Right. And so when you told me a while ago about you were introduced to pornography in elementary school, I was like, what? I didn't even know porn was a thing until I was in like middle school, which isn't like a long jump, but it's still like, I was at least a little bit older.
If I'm not mistaken, it was like 3rd grade.
He's about to go into 3rd grade. And so I just want to protect him. I want to protect both of them. Yes. I feel like Trinity would have the mentality to be like, that's not okay, or that's wrong, or what is that?
Because she already does. She already does that to folks in her class. In her class. Like, that's wrong. Like, okay, you're child.
Because no. Wayne, he has that capability when it comes to academics, but when it comes to just life, he's like me. He'd be like, what? He'd be lost because he's so innocent. Yeah. He's just like so, well, Jesus loves us, and so we love everybody. And I'm like, yes, you're right, baby. But I also don't want to hold him back from growing up, but I don't want him to grow up so perversely.
Like, I don't want to necessarily shelter him. Yeah. Like, don't want to be overprotective, but I still want to protect him.
I want to be vigilant.
Because it's out here. And that's why, honestly, I'm worried, because he's at that age. And I even like with certain things, like when you be changing and the doors open, or like that time when he was sleeping in the bed, and that's why I'm so, I admit I can be anal about this stuff sometimes. I know, but that's why.
And I'm okay with
because
that.
I look at him. Okay. Honestly, there are times when I look at him and I think I don't want him to end up like me.
Me too. And not to say that you're not a great person. You're all right. I'm just kidding. But I don't want I don't want him to feel like he has to conform to society. I feel like he's going to make somebody a great husband. He will love you. Man. Oh, just don't be out here acting foolish now. I ain't saying that I just want anybody.
You hurt my baby,
it's going to be a problem. But I feel like he would make somebody a good man. Yeah. Yeah. And I think my heart would be broken if he started being, promiscuous. And I'm like, no, Jesus, let's go back in time, please.
Yeah. So,
but go back to your
being
story.
Introduced to it in elementary school. I already knew about it, and so I think I don't remember when it became like a problem, but I know there was usage as early as at least maybe middle school, but definitely high school. I was definitely using it in high school, and I actually remember getting caught. But like when it actually became a problem, I don't know. Probably college. Probably. Because I think that's kind of when it really started to spin out of control.
What does out of control pornography look like to you? Or like what
So I'm not even necessarily pornography, but lust in general.
Oh, lust. Okay. I thought we was just talking about.
So I think like by this time, like it's already been established that like for me, this is how I'm feeling. I'm ugly. This is what I think. I'm ugly. Girls don't like me. And so I did end up dating somebody else, and it was very different. You know, I didn't deal with that same kind of thing again, but I was dating her as I went to college, and I think, like I said, that's when like my issues with lust started to kind of spin out of control. So I did end up cheating on her, and then when she, like, after, you know, she found out / I told her that it happened, we still stayed together for a while, and then we broke up over something that I thought was an anger issue, because it was a whole scenario at a I think it was a McDonald's or something, and somebody said something to her, and she said something to me about it, and I didn't like what she said, and so it was a whole thing. And then like the next day she broke up with me, and so I thought it was about that, and then it's like years later she says no, it was the cheating. Which fair, you know. But I think at this point in my mind, I already feel like I'm ugly. I feel like women don't like me. You know, I'm getting rejected, and even the attention that when I do get attention from women, it's usually more sexual than it is romantic. Or even like the one that was romantic, it became sexual, and it was like almost like, yeah, we're not getting one without the other kind of thing. Okay. And I think that's what led to a lot of what happened in college, and like the spiral, and that's why like I started doing things like paying for escorts and things like that. And I even remember something that I had started to notice was I would get on like dating sites or whatever, or even just social media sites. They weren't always necessarily for dating, but they ended up being used for that, like Moco Space. But something that I started to notice was I was on there to talk to women, basically, and what I would notice was I would quite often get messages from men, and I would turn them down because I wasn't into that. But like I would often, like they would like DM me and be like, hey yo, I can do such and such, you know. And my thought is like, why? Like don't you see, can't you tell that I'm here for women? Maybe not, I don't know. But I would turn, like, you know, they would, and it wasn't a one-time thing. Like it would happen like periodically. You know, I would turn them down. But I do think at some point it started to seep into my brain that women don't like me, but it seems like men do. And so, it's a gnat. Get out of here. Are you gone? Okay. And I think that's where my struggle with, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, because that's when I started looking at men that looked like women. And that's where I was smiling about when we were talking about your story, is because it's very, I think it's very similar, because for me, it was, I wanted a woman, but I'm realizing that for some reason, men want me. So maybe I'll talk to men who look like women, and then I can feel like I have a woman that's actually into me. Mm-hmm. And society calls them transgender, but we don't believe in that over here. And I'm not trying to, like, you know, not trying to step on anybody's like beliefs or anything, but this has kind of been, I've had to come to terms with this. And, you know, at the time it was, I didn't do much in college as it relates to this, but like I talked to a couple people, but it really became after that, especially like but with us being separated and kind of doing our own things, and then like during that time when I don't even know if I could say dealing with lust, but just in it at that point. Like I was just fully in it. When I really started to contemplate just fully going down that road. And I think for me, like the word transgender was a cover up. It was a way for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm talking to a woman. Even though on the inside, I knew the truth. And even during that time, I think the lines still started, like the lines began to get blurred even more, because it even went from like I'm talking to a like transgender woman to I started talking to people like men that looked like women and dressed like women, but they still even identified as men. And I didn't care, because just like with the girl at the summer camp, I liked the attention. And I felt like I was fine, like I was being affirmed, like somebody actually wants me. And so I think even now that's the issue, because you can get lost in all kinds of fantasies when it comes to pornography, and there's a lot of different stuff out there. And it's just, it's affirming, especially for someone who feels like, you know, I'm unattractive, I'm unwanted, I'm, you know, unappealing, or like whatever. It's, you can kind of get lost in, oh, there's this attractive girl on the screen, and if in my mind I just replace the guy that's there with me, cool, this ain't so bad. Mm-hmm. But that's still wrong. And something that I even just this past week that I had been kind of working out is like kind of coming to that conclusion is I'm still seeking affirmation. I'm still seeking what's the word? Validation. Thank you. I'm still seeking validation. And I think that's why I'm still struggling with this. And it's not to give it an excuse. I don't want people to say, oh, well, you're just trying to make an excuse for your sin. No, the reason why I've even been thinking so hard about this is because, again, people say that like one of the first steps is recognize what it is that's bringing you to this. Okay, now that I've figured out, okay, I'm seeking validation. Doing this is affirming because I feel like, because I feel like I'm ugly, because I feel like I'm unwanted. So now I'm kind of a step closer to what do I do about it? Right. And so I've started. So I think I've kind of started to figure it out, but like knowing what to do and doing it are kind of two different things, especially when it comes to spiritual stuff. But my thought is, if I'm doing this to seek validation, then because I feel like the man that I was trying to be was rejected. Mm-hmm. But even thinking back on the man that I was trying to be before all of that rejection and all that, I was trying to be a godly man. I was trying to follow in my father's footsteps. And it's funny because now that's kind of like, in a way, who I model myself after. And like I said, the issue is I've, after being rejected so much, I've kind of lost sight of all of that. And so now I'm trying to come back into that and be a godly man. And it's still tough because I feel like in a lot of ways I still feel that rejection. And what I'm trying now to focus on is the fact that I am validated and I am affirmed in Christ. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's easier said than done, basically, because I was watching a video the other day. It was actually the one I sent to you. It talks about like living in the reality that Christ is in you. And I think it's an easy concept to think about, but it's harder to live it out. Mm-hmm. Because like, what does that mean? Yeah. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And like, that's, for me, that's everything. Like, that's what I need to know in order to be able to do it and like replicate, like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Yeah. And then,
I do it.
I can do it, but it is still difficult because in a lot of ways, I still want that validation because I still feel, I'm realizing that I still have a lot of negative feelings about myself. And at one point I thought like, okay, I'm kind of getting over it. I'm feeling better about myself and this and that. And honestly, lately I've been kind of brought to the realization that no.
What made that happen? What was the catalyst for you to come back around? If there is one, because like I said, I just started dreaming. Well, no, I think it was social media. Mm-hmm. And seeing the profiles of those people. And so then I was like, okay. So what do you believe was the catalyst?
Reflecting on some of my actions. Like just some of the things that I do. even like when we were talking about like why I don't go out or why I don't like to talk to people and stuff like that, I think all of that still stems from how I feel about myself, and then in turn how they're going to see me. And so, you know, it's a fear of rejection, but it stems from I already feel like I'm nothing. So when I talk to somebody, basically I think they're going to think the same thing.
I have a question, and honestly, it's been something I feel like I've asked you before, but I want to bring it up again since we're talking about lust and like your struggles and things like cheating. And I know we've addressed that about our relationship as well. I wonder, or I maybe it's not a question, maybe it's just like I'm confused, or I don't really understand the duality or whatever of it. You feeling unattractive, rejected, and nothing. But then also being sexually involved with multiple different people. How does that play into each other?
I think I might have to sit with this for a little longer, but my initial thought is because they're not actually people that I value.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. I think like even when I talked about like, you know, talking to men that look like women simply because I like the attention and they like me and I can feel like there's somebody that actually wants me, but these aren't people that I'm actually like really into. I'm really just into the attention that they give me. And so basically it doesn't help. I think basically what I need to do is focus more on the people that I do value and what they think of me, how they feel about me, and not necessarily. First, I should focus on God. Okay. What he thinks about me.
Right. I was going to let you
what he says
like,
about
so
me.
Jesus
but the reason why I said the people that I care about is because the people that I have in mind, I already know they think positively about me. The issue is receiving that and internalizing that rather than the rejection and the negative stuff that I've been taught my whole life. I mean, think about like there are certain things growing up that just are like burned into my brain, like being on I think we were on the way home, like back to the school when I was in marching band in high school. I think we were leaving a game, we were on the way back to the school, and all the popular kids always sat in the back of the bus. And I don't remember what happened or what they were talking about, but for whatever reason, I turned around, looked over the seat towards the back of the bus, and there was this guy in the back of the bus who looked forward and saw me, and for whatever reason, he just goes, "You are so ugly," and the entire back of the bus just laughs. And it's stuff like that I'm like, what did I even do? Like, I didn't do anything to provoke that. And I guess in my brain, I did nothing to provoke that. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. Again, just existing. I just looked back there. And then the fact that nobody said anything to the contrary, everybody just laughed. It must be true. They must all think that. So I think it's been difficult to get stuff like that out of my head and bring in the other stuff, like what my family says about me, the positive things that my family says, even you, the things that you say about me, the things that God says. It's hard for me to bring that in to wash out the other stuff, because at some point my brain keeps going back to that.
I know this has literally nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I think it's a good kind of, I'm going to say caveat, reminder, or whatever. In teaching. It's funny how I'm turning into your mom. Anyway, in teaching this PBIS thing, positive behavior, something, intervention, something. Anyway. Basically, the idea is to say more positive things to children to get them to change their behaviors versus, well, you'll never do this and why you always and blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, actually call out something positive in them, and that will motivate them better, longer, stronger than something negative. And so Ms. Horn, fabulous. I love her. She was saying that when she was teaching in Chicago, one of the things that they would be observed on as teachers is this same little positive behavior matrix, but there was like a number to it. That for every one negative that a teacher said, they had to say at least 7 positives, 5 to 7 or something like that, to basically counteract that. So for years, you were rejected and you were depressed, anxious, unattractive by their understanding or whatever, bullied and all of that. So all of those negative impacts, you got to have a book of positive things said over you before it can really start to change your mindset about yourself. And that was all. It was just, I thought about how we say that, kids respond better when you praise them than when you speak negatively. You attract more flies with honey than you do vinegar. So when it comes to this feeling good about you and feeling more positive, I think you have to surround yourself with more positive first. Yeah. Now, not to say that you should just cover it up. I feel like you would definitely benefit from counseling too. I do know.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finding things.
Money.
I didn't know if you wanted to tell them, so I wasn't going to say it.
Money. I'm broke.
Right. So.
People say don't say that, but
I have low funding.
I don't have a lot of money
right now. I have low funding right now. Feel free to donate towards the Christian Millennial Conversation channel. Right. But yeah, I think reminding ourselves about what God says about us is very helpful.
Yeah. So I've actually started I've started compiling a list of scriptures that actually are like affirming kind of scriptures. So my plan is I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this still. But a couple of ideas that I've had is like maybe sticky notes, writing them on a sticky note and putting them in places where I most definitely will see them. I was thinking about maybe making some like the screensaver on my phone or on my computer, making that scripture, and like stuff like that to just kind of keep it in my head, because as of right now, it's not in there. I'm just gonna be honest.
That's fair.
As of right now, my mind is constantly bringing me down, and so as I fight this, the best way to do it is to do what Jesus did and fight it with scripture.
You know, they say to flee from lust, not fight it.
Yes.
Just think about it. But I hear you.
Flee means I gotta run, and it can run fast too.
I feel that. I'm proud of you for your transparency today. I didn't know how deep you were gonna go, or how transparent you were gonna be. But I am proud of you.
I'm sorry.
I know it's probably gonna be a lot of, comments, but as just a human being, that took a lot of vulnerability. And I know I was over here crying and everything. Not to take it from my story or, information. But as I know as a man, what you said can have a lot of backlash. But I'm proud of you for even still speaking up.
I've thought about that too. Like, there's probably going to be people saying all kinds of things like, oh, he gay, or
I didn't want to say that.
People are like, oh, he's gay, and people are probably going to be like, oh, he's trying to justify sin, and he doesn't really have faith, and like all this kind of stuff. But if I'm being honest, I felt like, and this could be, I felt like I needed to say this. And I hesitate a lot to say that God is telling me to do something, because I don't like saying things like that and then being wrong. Mm-hmm. But as strong as this feeling was, maybe, God might have been telling me that I needed to say this. But I just, like I was saying before, I feel like, one, it helps hold me accountable. Because now people know what I'm struggling with, and they can look and be like, hey, should you be doing that? Not to say that everybody, again, needs to be in my business, but I know there are certain people who are going to watch this that are close to me, that are going to be like, oh, that'll be kind of helpful along this journey. But also, so, okay, 2 more reasons. Another reason is
a lot of reasons for this.
Another reason is, like I said again earlier, somebody is where I'm at, or maybe not even where I'm at.
Yeah.
And if my story can help even one person,
amen,
change their life around and come to Christ,
it's worth it.
They can say all the bad stuff they want about me.
Really?
I don't want them to.
I was gonna say, now you're gonna be fighting in them comments.
But what I'm saying is, that's greater. Mm-hmm. And the third reason is,
this is like the 8th.
It might come up anyway.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know for sure, but what I wouldn't want is for me to, even like, let's say, I finally, I'm healed and cleansed and all this stuff, and then like 10 years down the line, I'm preaching and teaching and all this kind of stuff, and then it comes up that, oh, he was messing around with trans women. Then what? How does that look? I feel like it's better to put it all out there,
to confess rather than to be caught.
Right.
I found it interesting because last night when I was supposed to be going to sleep, because I just haven't been sleeping well, I stumbled upon this movie. I forgot what it was called. I'm not even gonna lie. It's a Christian movie though, about this guy. It's based off of true stories, you know how I feel about those. Those be the ones where I'm like, wow.
Favorite type of movie.
Hello. About this guy, him and this girl, they've been dating for a while. He was dealing with issues of his father passing, early in his life, and he joined the police academy and was just seeing death left and right. And so he started turning to alcoholism. And like, I'm talking about, like, he was in there like swimwear. Okay. He was in there. And eventually it led to him having an affair. The police academy found out about it, and it like, he had been his field training officer had kept inviting him to church, and he was like, nah, I believed in God. God didn't answer my prayers. My dad was sick, all that. And so then it came to the point where it was just too much for him. And so he went to church, started confessing, and the preacher was like, well, you need to tell your wife about the affair. And he was like, nah, I think basically if she doesn't know, it'll be all right. He never did say that, but that's how he was moving. So he told her, about she knew about the alcoholism, and said, he was trying to change, and that, like, he had connected with Christ. And somehow, I think a letter came in the mail about because the police did an investigation about the whole affair, because it's actually against their moral codes to pay for sex and everything like that. So,
that's what he did.
Yeah.
You said he had an affair. I thought he was like, I mean, it's still an affair, but like, you
thought like a whole relationship.
Yeah, I thought like, he was drinking and then hooked up with some girl, I
mean, yeah, but he paid for it.
Well,
right. So the police force found out about it. They did an investigation, found him to be in moral turpitude or whatever, immoral acts and whatnot. And I think they sent like the investigation papers home. And so she found out like that, and it almost destroyed their
relationship.
Yeah. And basically his pastor was like, look, I kind of had already told you to tell her, but he actually stood up for him and was like, I want you to know that he started coming to church and coming to confession because he cared and loved you. And he told me about the infidel. Like, this is what the pastor's telling the lady, his wife and everything. And so, it took some time for them to rebuild it, but it was just the idea that confessing is better. It's freeing. It's better. It's just so.
It is.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reason why I even brought the idea to you to do an episode like this is because it honestly, it was weighing heavy on me.
Really?
That I just felt like this needed to come out.
I wonder if my dreams were a nudging from God to be like, maybe you should also confess. Because maybe. I don't know if I've ever mentioned the whole same-sex attraction on.
I don't think
I have.
If so, it was maybe like a passing thing, like, but I don't think we've actually ever addressed it.
Talked about it.
And I know I've never.
I know.
You are the only person
I know
in the entire world that knows anything about any type of dealings with trans people.
Yeah. That was tough for me.
I know.
We don't have to talk about that right now. Right. Anyway.
So.
But yeah, I wonder if that was. Because I was like, Satan, get thee behind. Which I still feel like that, because I'm like, I don't want to do that. I haven't tried to find myself in those situations. It was confusing to me. But I wonder if it was being presented as an opportunity for confession to the listeners. Not to you, because you already knew.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe, especially with this episode coming up, because we'd already talked about we talked about this like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Yes.
We always do that. Gotta do better, bro.
I'm trying. I really am.
It's not, but I won't say that it was just you. Life started happening. Honestly. Yeah. It's too. Life was lifing. So. But this was good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, even like some of the stuff I know you didn't even know, like like, I know you knew about the whole trans thing, but then you probably didn't know it's like, you didn't know that it didn't stop there.
No.
And then even like the whole thing with the summer camp, I just told you that like last week.
I was gonna say that was actually a recent knowing. I don't know if I told you about being suffocated.
I don't know.
I
know you told me about he used to choke you.
He who?
I don't want to say his name.
Oh, okay.
The person you were in a relationship with.
Yeah, I'm talking about somebody else.
Oh. Oh, I think you did tell me about that, actually.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Like the hand over my nose and mouth. You know, real quick on the side, I found out that a lot of the things that I had been kind of just suppressing, basically, about childhood happened to my sister too.
Really?
Like that.
Like the hand over your nose and mouth?
So I feel like I need therapy.
Me too.
As I'm still in it.
And it's, you know, it's crazy because I think about the whole it, like, some of my experience. Now, I didn't go through a lot of what he went through, but it makes me think of like the baby reindeer show.
Tell me why that was on my mind, but I didn't want to say that. I was like, when you said, okay, I know we're supposed to be wrapping up basically, but when you were talking about how you were being rejected, but you liked the attention, I was like, I feel like the best way I could have thought about that was baby reindeer. And
actually,
I'm sorry, it actually helped me understand you more. Because I was like, I don't know, it's giving you want this. But then I watched it and I was like, I can see now how it's not just an all of a sudden thing. It's over time. Satan uses, let me just throw this in there, and then here you go, a little bit of that, and then boom, 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 and it kind of just spirals into what it became.
And that's why when we were watching it, honestly, I understood where he was coming from.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know, I get it.
Yeah.
And even how that could, and I didn't even connect these dots until just now, but even like how his experience led him to date trans women.
Yeah.
And
I thought about that just now.
I didn't even think about, because I didn't mention what happened in college with.
Okay. That's up to you.
So-and-so.
I know.
But basically, I'm not gonna say nobody's name, but there was a guy in our friends group in college that would touch me, basically. And again, another one of those moments that's like burned into my brain is being at, I'm not gonna say no names, I said, but being at one of our friends' houses or apartments, and the guy that kept touching me, he was like behind me, and he was like holding me, and he was trying to put his hand in my pants, and I was like holding him back basically, but it was like it was like in my pants at the entrance. And anyway, I constantly was telling him like, stop, and you know, I'm not into that. And even with that, I never let him do anything to me, but it was like still in the back of my mind, it's like, to an extent, I felt like I still did like the attention that I was getting. I just didn't want it from him.
Yeah.
I wanted it from someone else, a woman, preferably, you know.
Preferably.
But again, I feel like that speaks to the struggle of, like with the guy in Baby Reindeer, how, you know, the guy did that to him, and then he ended up dating men and trans women. And then I kind of think about the same thing with me, how that happened in college, and then fast forward, and now I'm talking to trans women and men. But it's it's crazy how these things can affect you mentally and emotionally.
Ooh.
And again, if my story can help somebody out there, then
let's do it.
Saying all this is worth it.
Look at us being vulnerable.
Yeah. So that's that, I guess. I don't know what else to say. Sorry we've been gone for so long, but life be lifing.
Man. Hurry up, go ahead.
What?
Whatever it is on your mind.
I'm just trying to make sure that everything was said that needed to be said.
I mean, we can always record again.
Yeah, I guess so.
What do you think is going to be the impact once this comes out?
Honestly, I have no idea. Part of me is expecting judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I was saying, oh, he's this and he's that, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Another part of me is like, ain't nobody even gonna see this.
Yeah.
But honestly, because I mean, it's not like our channel is all that big.
We have
but
loyal listeners.
We do,
and I'm happy for. Thank y'all.
Yes, thank you. If you are someone who watches the show regularly, we do appreciate. I do appreciate you. And I specifically said me because maybe it didn't sound like it just a second ago. But I really do appreciate our listeners. All I'm saying is we don't have a lot. So that's why I was like, I mean, it might not even, might not even really get out there. If it does, cool, thing is, if someone needs to hear this,
they will.
And that is me believing and trusting in the sovereignty of God.
I love it.
He's going to use this however it needs to be used, whether it gets to 1 million people or 50. My only hope is that it helps.
This was refreshing, I guess. I wasn't prepared, but I knew you were going to start with me because you always do. But I was thinking about telling people about, I guess my story, but not so deep, or not, I don't know. Not so right now. I was thinking like progressively, but you were just like, hey, what if we talk about it right now? I'm like,
and when I brought that to you, honestly, in my mind, I was like, I plan on telling everything.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. That's my struggle with lust and pornography, and even a little bit of same-sex attraction in there, which is something I never thought I would ever admit to anybody.
I know, because I asked you about that too. Years ago.
I would have taken that to my grave.
I know you would have.
It's important to have people to talk to about this stuff. You can't confess your sins if you don't have anyone to confess to. And that's the importance of having a church home.
I love how you always bring it full circle. Full circle.
If you need a church home, if you're looking for a new church home, or you just want to visit us, there's a great place called Total Renewal. It's at, I haven't done this in so long, oh my goodness, 6140 Highway 42 in Rex, Georgia. It's a great place where the word is taught, not just preached. We get to do a brunch and Bible study where we get to discuss the scriptures. You get to ask questions. You get to give your input, your thoughts. It's really a great environment, and we have plenty of room for more people. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, and if it has blessed you in any way, share it with someone else so it can bless them too. All of these things really help out the ministry and help us reach more and more people.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. We want to reach more people and bless as many people as we can, not just for money, but for the sake of the kingdom.
Amen.
I am still working on the Patreon. I'm actually working on it now. I'm hoping to have a rollout soon. I know. I'm hoping to have a rollout soon. We do have a Discord. The link will be in the description, the Millennial Christian Community. We also have a Facebook group now.
What?
It is also called the Millennial Christian Community on Facebook. You can search it on Facebook, or you can click the link in the description. It'll be there too. I haven't done this in so long, so you got anything else to say?
I'm about to delete my social media, so if he tags me or anything, I don't know.
I probably won't. It'll just be on the Millennial Christian. All my business accounts have been switched over to Millennial Christian, so yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I hope something in this episode has encouraged you or blessed you in some way. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
And I don't know what you see in me.